you doing, KP?
I am doing well. Almost S almost came out my lips. That
What?
was
Yeah, uh-huh. I see. You're still working on that, huh?
I'm a work in progress.
You can't even blame perimenopause. What is going on?
It's menopause. It's menopause, not menopause.
Menopause. Mm-hmm.
Well, as usual, it's always good to see you. We have a great, I think, lineup of topics. I'm sorry, it's cold weather is keeping my lips dry, so I
We
need some.
talked about that. I don't want to hear about cold in Texas.
We did get snow, FYI. I mean, it wasn't snow, but we did get
Yeah,
it. You like,
yeah. It's freezing here. Yeah.
I know it is. Well, we're gonna be in the 50s today, so
I couldn't even walk the dog. He turned around and he has a winter coat. He was like, no, it's so cold. No.
yeah, I've
Mm.
been seeing videos of dogs going outside in the snow. Like, mm-mm. I like those must be black dogs.
Well, when we did adopt him, I did tell him on the way home in the car that he was black. He was okay with that.
He's probably that.
So,
He's probably that. He's like, all
yeah,
right,
he's like,
cool.
okay, sure.
All right, cool. Well, we have a nice series of topics here. I think one, as we've shared before, we're going to have a sexual health topic every week. And so our health topic today is how to talk to your kids about sex and sexual health. I think,
Yes,
I'm
ready.
sorry,
I'm ready.
I'm
I stand
already
ready.
laughing. And then we want to make sure to give some space to the death of Alex Pretty, I believe how you pronounce it, but
Ready?
also
Is it ready?
Pretty, I think you're right. Thank you.
Yep.
And the Minneapolis protests have been going on. It's been very, very heavy for a lot of folks. And then a topic that we've been wanting to get back to, but I haven't had time, is this why boys need the boys. And there's a video that I'm going to share and have us kind of cover. And then the next one is going to be the Kanye apology that came out earlier
Hmm.
this week. I have some thoughts about that. And then lastly, our side eye, no surprise, our Homeland Security Secretary Christy Nome, and the Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino. We'll get to those folks later on. Before we get started, I want to get into our our grounding card.
Okay.
Um, let's
I'm
get this
ready to be
one
grounded.
grounded.
Woosah. Okay.
Feelings. Whoa, feelings. Feelings that I often develop when talking about diversity, equity, inclusion are blank and blank.
Hmm.
Feelings.
Sometimes I get excited about it, and sometimes I dread it. So it just depends on the setting and the environment and who I'm surrounded by. If it feels safe, then I'm often excited about it. If I'm presenting on it and I see people in the audience like looking at me like, then I'm like, here we go. So those are my feelings.
I was gonna say excited too, but I think for me it's I don't know. There's a better word, but it's opening up to kind of be myself, to be authentic.
Okay.
Um, I'm not saying in every situation, particularly if I'm in the work situation, maybe not as much, but when I'm sitting with my friends and having conversation, that kind of opening up and be myself, be authentic.
Okay.
That's one thing. And I share your dread. And I wish it
Yeah.
wasn't like that. But even for people who are enthusiastically into this stuff, but they have no idea what the hell they're doing, it's still a little bit of dread because you're like, oh God, I gotta be patient and understanding and sympathetic. So cool. So
Wait, and apparently now we can talk about DEI because it was the court case against the Trump administration. Wasn't it struck down from the Dear Colleague letter?
yes.
Yeah.
So exciting for the courts to shut down the nonsense from the government because of his executive order, and so schools and universities were feeling compelled that they couldn't have these conversations and include it, and they're saying, nope, that's not true. Freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And so what a I think
First Amendment and some federal procedures and rules that weren't followed, I read about. Yeah.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
because executive orders can't do that. It has to be from Congress
Yeah.
and all this other stuff. And your our buddy, our friend Kevin Coakley, he shared about that on the LinkedIn. So I think it's a great news. So I'm what for me, the question is, when are people going to decide to reverse course on the reverse course
Right,
around?
right.
Uh, but I'm glad you brought that up. It's a really good point.
It's a big
So
deal. Big
oh, huge,
deal.
huge
Yeah.
deal. And we kind of knew this was going to happen, but we were waiting for the courts, and it took, of course, a year for it to happen. So, but I feel like we should start off with Alex Preddy in Minneapolis. Um,
Heartbreaking, right? Like, we
hard,
spoke about Renee Good, just as a correction, I said she had 1 child, she had 3 children, so my apologies. It's anytime there's loss of life, it is heartbreaking, and, I was reading a little bit about him, and, he appeared to be such a good man. He was a vet, he was an ICU nurse, right? There's a clip of him, I think a patient had passed away, he was a vet, and he was reading to the nursing staff about him, this man who'd passed away. And it looked like he was trying to protect people when he was murdered and gunned down. So, it's heartbreaking. It's terrifying. It's scary. I just, I don't have any words. My heart goes out to his family. That's not enough. These things must stop. But it's heart wrenching. It is.
it's so heart wrenching. I went to a vigil yesterday here in Austin. There's actually a nurses union here in town, which is kind of monumental in Texas. We're a right to work state, so that means unions are not quite as influential. However, their union at the hospital where I was actually decided to have a vigil, and I would say 200 people showed up, give or take.
Yeah.
Remember him and other people. And one of the things I wish I brought the list today, but what I thought was really great was that they acknowledged Renee Good, of course, Alex Preddy, but also others who have been murdered and
Yeah.
killed on ICE.
Yeah.
Because I think some people are feeling some kind of way, and I think it's justified that when these two white people got killed, all of a sudden people's attention. But I was reading a video or looking at a video that says, when they're coming after you, it doesn't matter if you're white. They're going to come after all of us, and that's kind of
Mhm.
the point, right?
Yep. Yep.
So
And,
it's
I think one of the things that we read about it in the news, and we're horrified, and then people's lives move on, but the lives he touched, you don't move on, right? Like, the ripple effect of, 1 death, of both of them, right, just impacts everyone that they knew and didn't know, right? It's trauma, and it's terrorism.
Mhm. Speaking of domestic terrorism,
Yeah, yeah.
and I think
So
that's really the hard part here is that immediately after the man was killed,
yep.
murdered, we had we'll talk about this later on, our Homeland Security Secretary and the President of the United States calling him a domestic terrorist.
Maligning his character, which is disgusting to me, right? Like,
Same thing
it's
with
not surprising, but it's disgusting.
yeah,
Mhm.
same thing with Renee
Which
Good. Said people
is it supposed to justify murdering them? I
I think
I
in some ways it is, right? It's an attempt to kind of diminish, call him a domestic terrorist. They said he was going out to be like an assassin to kill law enforcement because he had a gun that was actually licensed. And it
yeah,
was like he didn't even know what the hell was going on.
yeah,
So it's maddening and it's sad. And I'll be honest, at first I wasn't going to go to the vigil because I was a little on the busy side. Well, it was good to be there because I saw those nurses who were really scared. I mean, for
yeah,
themselves, for the people they
yep,
knew. So and who doesn't know a nurse who's done something good for them? And
yeah,
so it was good to be there to support them. One of the things I thought about is my grandmother was actually a nurse in the university hospital here back in the well, not nurse, but she was an LVN, a nurse's
yeah,
aide back in the 50s. My mom did that as for extra work.
yeah,
So nurses are doing great things, and there's no reason why this should have happened. But I'm glad we're giving some voice to it because I think it's horrendous,
yeah.
um, scary, scary. Um, cool. I feel like I want to go to the health topic that you wanted to
Oh,
focus on.
okay. Let's talk about sex, baby. Yeah. So, our sexual health topic today is how to talk to your children about sex. Now, funny story here, right? Like I have a background as a human sexuality educator. I was ready. You guys know I have 3 kids, ready to talk to them about sex. They didn't want to hear anything I had to say, not one. Like I can do it without embarrassment. I can do it well. I have facts and education behind it. Literally, they run from me. They do not want to hear it. And I'm like, oh, I've been preparing for this for years. They're like, nah. My daughter's like, no, I'm good. And I'm like, but what about? She goes, no, I got it. And I was like, "Ugh." And my sons are like, la, la, la. So that being said, right, the time to start talking to your kids about sexual health and sex in general is early and often. Make it a normal part of if we teach them about body parts, we use proper names for body parts because otherwise you teach shame, especially in girls, right? And so you can find developmentally appropriate ways to talk to them about sex. A 2-year old does not know the difference between their ear and their genitalia. I mean, they know the difference, right? But they don't have stigma. It's the stigma that we give them, right? And so, parents should be careful about having cutesy names for genitalia because you're sending a message that there's something wrong or there's something different about it. And if we kind of play it forward a little bit, if there's a problem, like a health problem, or if you have a child who is the victim of abuse, you've taught them not to talk about it as much. And so, right, parents really want to be talking to their kids about their children's sexual health early and often in developmentally appropriate ways.
Now, help me out with that, Pierce, because now I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
My mother, back in the shoot, that would have been the 70s, maybe in fourth grade. So maybe it was 80, I don't know, 80, 81. And we lived in California. And my mom didn't play. She was like, look, this is a penis, this is a vagina, these are women's breasts.
Yeah.
She was breaking it down. Of course, I didn't like none of this, but what is it that you think? Because so many people, I mean, I'm not some, but a lot of
Yeah.
people, I almost a great majority, love using cutesy names, the hoo ha, the cha cha, the itty bitty titty committee. I mean, all
Yeah.
these phrases to avoid using the technical terminology. And what do you think that's about?
Well, so if I had to guess, first of all, it's multi-generational, it's societal, it's passed down, right? And it's representative of our own discomfort with our own bodies. And women get it worse, right? That's a whole other topic, the objectification of women and what that does, right? But I think it is a shame that's passed on. Like there's something wrong with the human body, especially in regards to genitalia or what we call private parts that we just can't name it. And that's a lot of damage to undo. So when you're talking to your children, you really want to use proper names because you don't want to induce shame in them about these
Mm.
body parts.
Yeah, because we don't do it with anything else. We call feet,
Mhm.
feet, eyes, cheeks,
Exactly.
cheeks. I mean,
Yep.
maybe when we don't say butt or gluteus maximus, we say the bum.
Yeah.
But that's again something that's
My
mildly,
mom
if
used to
not
say bumbo.
sexual.
Yo,
Huh?
bumbo. Bumbo. Uh-huh, she called it a bumbo. Yep, uh-huh. I mean, 70s, 80s, but it's true, and so, even if you grew up in a family where no one ever talked to you about it, it's trying to break the generational stigma and prepare, your child for life. You want them to be able to have, healthy ideas about their bodies, and we don't teach that when we use cutesy names. "Oh, you're PP." No, it's not a PP. No, no. Mhm.
So I'm trying not to make this practical, Dr. Helm, and I'm thinking to myself, even when I talk to myself, do I say, "Oh, I hurt my penis," or do I say I got hit in the
Yeah,
balls?
a penis?
My penis. And so
How do
I
you
guess my
spell that word?
I mean I'm
Panus? What?
and I guess one thing I'm gathering from our conversation is that I'm not hearing there's this absolute rule, right? But in general, particularly when you're having these, which should be more serious conversations with our children, that using the actual names of those parts is important. So we're one communicating about the actual thing, the penis, the vagina, the anus, whatever, right? And so if we are telling jokes or if we have a mishap, we might use cutesy names every once in a while. But in these particular moments, it's really
Yep.
important to use the terminology, right? Is that
You wanna
is that fair?
empower your children, right? To understand their own bodies functions, other people's bodies functions. And when you go to the doctor, to be able to have an informed conversation about what is going on with your body. And we don't do that when we encourage our children to be embarrassed about their own bodies.
Feel that
By
shame.
Yes,
Mhm,
yes.
mhm.
So that's
Well,
my point. Sticking to it.
and I like it, and what it also acknowledges, and you know this when working with kids, a lot of times the work with kids is actually more of the work with the parents. The
Right.
parents becoming more comfortable with the terminology. So even though we're
Yes.
talking about, how to have conversation with your kid, this is really about how to talk to parents. We're talking to
Yeah.
parents, adults, about having conversations with their kids and hopefully helping them deal with some of the shame and guilt and acknowledging it, right? Because we have a culture that still does a lot of shaming and guilting about anything that's
Yeah.
sexually remotely, whether religious or not. It's still kind
Well,
of
yeah,
a
which is interesting because you can Google anything, right? And so, I mean, information is readily available. It's not always accurate information, right? And so it is interesting that we still carry the stigma, but we do, but it often begins with caregivers of kids not using proper names. And so something to really consider.
It does something. I'm just thinking. I'm trying to think because I think about my family. They all know the names of these parts. It wasn't for ignorance. Now there was some ignorant things that are being said, but it wasn't because they didn't know the things
Well,
and how they
right.
work. Right? They're like,
Right.
okay, this goes. We know the basics, but for some reason, once you get beyond like 1 or 2 degrees of that conversation, it becomes silly and goofy and awkward and weird and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
the reason I said that was because like maybe there was a education component of not being
No,
aware of
most
certain
people
things.
know the proper names. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, they
Oh.
do. The penis and the vagina.
Peanus. Okay. Look, even in that moment, you can't say the word.
The
You gotta
penis.
joke. Yes, exactly, exactly.
Wait, my kids were watching this video, they'd be like, "Lord have mercy." They probably want to volunteer. Let me tell you how my father talked with us about the birds and the bees and sex. We can't even call it sex. We call it the birds and the bees. I still don't know the
Exactly.
connection between the birds and the bees
I was
and
just
the
thinking that. No idea.
trees.
No idea.
Well, cool. I'm glad we had this conversation. Hopefully, we're encouraging others to have this conversation, be comfortable with it. If nothing else, if there's two parents or adults, that maybe they had the conversation first. Hey, we're about to have this conversation with the kiddos.
Well,
Uh,
and to that end, it should be multiple conversations. There's no just one conversation. Like you want to
True.
make it part of the things that you're teaching your children from early and don't stop talking to them about it.
Right, right. Because even like when you're in the bath and you're having conversations, remember how I don't know about you, my doctor would tell me to constantly be talking to my kids to give them that stimulation. And so even
Yeah.
like talking with them, okay, here's your knee, here's your elbow, here's your eyes, here's your, this allowing for that space and that comfort without it again age appropriate,
Yeah.
but have those kinds of conversations even from early age. So yeah, I appreciate that. I'm glad we're talking about it. So it's hopefully people see us as friends talking about it and what it means to be a parent. Hopefully, it makes them feel more comfortable as well.
Hopefully.
Let's get to Kanye's apology.
Hmm. Yeah.
You tell me because you brought it up and I read through it, but I want to hear your
Well,
thoughts.
you actually sent it to me and I couldn't read it because the text was too small. So I
Oh, you
looked
have
it
your
up.
reading glasses on?
Anyway, we got jokes and no, I didn't. So what you gonna say about it? So I looked it up and I'm torn, right? Because as a mental health professional, he has bipolar disorder 1, which is a severe mental health disorder, right?
Hmm.
And I'm sure everybody knows, but just to review, you alternate between major manic episodes where you are euphoric and you don't sleep for days and you maybe use substances and you shop too much and spend too much and have too much sex and you're out of control, all right? And the crash is you're in a major depressive episode, suicidal, maybe can't get out of bed, right? And it is an awful way to live. It is awful for the person who's suffering from it. And a lot of times, especially men, but also women who suffer from bipolar disorder, are less likely to take their medication consistently because it flattens
Mm,
out your mood, right? And if you're
mhm,
used to highs and lows, people report it doesn't feel like me. So I have
mhm.
empathy for the fact that he has a major mental health disorder and he has often had it in public, right? I can only imagine what it's like. I think Mariah Carey has bipolar 2.
Ah, that's right,
Yeah,
that's right.
right, which is a little less severe, right? But he is bipolar 1. And we have seen him sort of really collapse in on himself and be very self-destructive over years. He's the same person in 2005 with Hurricane Katrina was like, President Bush doesn't like black people. And then he kind of maligned the black community and black people, kind of aligning with the Trump administration and some other, like, just if I'm remembering correctly, like, and now this letter. So on the one hand, I want to see his apology as genuine. And on the other hand, I'm suspicious. So that's just me.
I think a lot of people are suspicious because we're still. I think there's still a grieving that I think is going on for the
Hmm.
first Kanye, right? Even with the whole Bush doesn't like black people. A lot of us are like, yeah, that motherfucker don't like black people. And so we got college dropout in those first three albums. People are like, remember the good old days, and so
Yeah.
it's not because he's not a genius, and it's not because he's
Yeah.
not coming out with music that's listenable. It's just all the other insanity. The
Yeah.
I mean, artistry with his athletic wear, and a lot of people liked it. It was very very popular. But then he comes out anti-Semitic and doing Nazi
Yeah.
stuff and
Yeah.
all the things. And I guess
And
one of the things
an
I've
apology does not wipe that away, right?
no
Like, if you're gonna apologize, and this is for anyone in your relationships or whatever, you have to if you're really atoning, like, there's an apology which is verbal, you have to follow it up with consistent action.
right, and
Is there
I'll
action?
be honest.
I don't know.
Well, and this is the part I was encouraged by because I
Okay,
was suspicious.
okay.
His apology was structured in such a way that it didn't come off like I'm sorry if you were hurt by my actions kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
It was taking some accountability, acknowledge some of the history, and it seemed like a genuine apology, possibly. But you're right, I think spot on, that reconciliation is not a letter of apology by itself.
right,
It's a
right.
journey, it's a pathway. And another reason why people are suspicious, and I think it's justified,
Because you got
the
an album
fact,
coming out,
yep, he's dropping. I think it drops
right?
today.
Right, right.
And I'm not
So,
saying you should go get it. I'm just saying, is
I
it?
won't be.
I'm not. I'm waiting because
Yeah,
Kanye's. I like Kanye. Again, old Kanye, but I want to see if this is worthwhile, and maybe even some of his music will show some change, and maybe he speaks about things in a different way. But you know what I
yeah,
think of? I think about Lizzo. Remember all the controversy she was going
yeah,
through,
yeah,
and and one, she didn't acknowledge that she did the things that she was accused of. But one of the things I like about Lizzo is that anytime that she's perceived herself to have made a mistake or fallen short of her own kind of expectations and her values, she's consistently come out and said, "Hey, my bad. Let me
mhm,
change this. I'm gonna go back and change this song because this lyric here was a problem." And so even with this whole thing with Lizzo, even how she's kind of, I don't even say she's making a comeback, but even how she's going about it, there's a certain kind of dignity that she's bringing to the conversation about herself and things that are important. And I
yeah.
guess I feel like that's a pathway like that would be what I think Kanye would need to do. I just don't know if he's going to do it.
I don't either. And I really want to go back with him, right? Yes, he's gifted, he's very talented. I also think he's very tormented. If everyone remember, Kanye is from Chicago and his
Mhm.
mom passed away,
Yes.
right?
That's
You
when all it
know,
went down.
and I think that that was a trigger for a lot of bad things for him and a grief and a loss that he has not necessarily worked through. This is an assumption. I ain't never met Kanye. Kanye don't know Kathy, right? I'm nobody to Kanye, right? But, I think that is what can happen where, you have a major life event, a major trigger, a major grief instances. And, the people in our lives who ground us when they're not here, we feel unmoored, right? And perhaps, right? And I'm making a lot of inferences, right? Without having to talk to Kanye, right? But, it seemed like he really lost his way. after that, and it just seemed to get worse. So I hope that he is on a path to recovery, right? I
Mhm.
hope that his apology is genuine, and I hope he makes good on some of these things that he says he's sorry for. But we'll
W-
see.
We'll see. And my hope is, because he's been through a divorce. He's supposed to be a great dad. The
Okay.
reputation he has as being a great, and I only mention this because it's hard to be a complete asshole and a good dad, right? And so if he's being a good dad, I mean, because there's certain values you're trying to, patience and understanding and listening and making time for your kids, right? I'm not saying you can't be a straight up racist asshole. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that it gives me hope that if he's this good parent who does things that parents should be doing, maybe
Mhm.
that same kind of behavior can be done in how he relates to his public, his fans, the public life that he lives. I guess.
I'm a
Whereas,
little
like, someone, I mean, but whereas I think with Trump, I don't think he's a good dad. I think he's an asshole in all different kinds of ways, and so I have no hope for him. Whereas Kanye, I'm like, maybe there's some qualities about him here that he can transfer over here. I don't know. I'm looking for something. I'm looking for the possibility, I guess,
I
maybe
think
in
it
some
remains
ways.
to be seen, right?
Agreed.
If you are genuinely sorry, hopefully there is consistent behavioral change to those communities that he has hurt to educate himself, but we'll see.
We'll see. I mean, he mentioned the anti-Semitism. I mean, let's
Mhm.
be clear. His pocketbook was hit. I mean,
I
he lost
mean,
that contract with Adidas, or
you
obviously.
you can't talk about people and then be like, "Pay me." Yeah, come on now. Come
I
on
mean,
now.
you see how swiftly they fired that man, and then the shoes, which I didn't like that much, but the shoes like literally were like here for 50 cents. They were like hundreds of dollars. They're like, here, you can have. Matter of fact, take them. They were in the garbage,
Oh my goodness. I
and then
didn't keep up with that. Yeah.
oh no, and then you started seeing people walking around with these shoes that he had made. And I'm like, wait a minute, how did y'all get the shoe? Yeah, we saw a big old bag of them sitting. I'm like, wow.
Dang.
For me, that by itself would be like a lot. Like,
Yeah.
come on, bro.
I
I mean,
mean,
going from here to here. So I don't know. And what makes me think about it, I guess it goes back to motivation. What was what happened that elicited this moment, other than his album coming
problem,
out?
right. Don't know. Don't
That's the
know.
unseen. And
And I
that was
won't think too much about it. I mean, don't
yeah.
know.
I
It
won't think too
remains to
much
be
about
seen.
it. But
Yeah.
I might think about it a lot. Well, you know what it is because I feel like he's on the public. He has a public platform,
Yeah.
and if he does this right, it be a teachable moment to people in the general to say, "Hey, look at Kanye. Remember where he started. Look where he
Yeah.
went, and look. And let's say we fast forward 2 years from now, 5 years from now. I mean, a person who was in a doghouse literally for a while, if you remember, this was Michael Vick because he got convicted for those dog fighting.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people were pissed off. Now, a lot of black people are like, shit happens, but a lot of people were upset with him. But he went to jail. He spent his time. He came out. He did educational kinds of things. He talked about the ills of dog fighting. Now he's like, I don't want to say golden boy, but he's regained his status and his dignity in the public eye because he went through that journey of
Yeah.
reconciliation.
Well, we about to see. Yeah. I do have compassion for I think let me say this. I think it would be so hard to live your life in the public eye, right? Like, we all make mistakes every day. It would be really hard to live your life in the public eye.
Yeah, yeah.
And so what happens next is up to Kanye. It remains to be seen.
Public eye with a serious mental health issue,
Yeah.
and excuse me, and if he's telling the truth, the brain injury or brain whatever he said he had, which
Yeah.
on top if that's true, that's a whole nother layer to this conversation, along with the trauma of losing his mom
Yeah.
unexpectedly. Because once she get in by some kind of surgery and she died
Plastic
on the
surgery. He passed
yeah, it
from a
was
tape.
on a
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah. So
Yeah.
I guess I want to say I have some sympathy for the brother. I think there's something there to be that's real, that's honest, and I'm hopeful. But again, we won't know until we actually see
Yeah.
him make the
I
things.
think it's time for our next card.
Yes, it is. Yes, it
Are you
is.
gonna do the jingle or not?
I How about
I
next
choose
time?
him because, there is, with his card deck, there's a jingle online, so I want him to sing it, but I'm gonna keep asking.
Okay, next week. I'm not singing it.
Okay,
But I'll
okay,
play it. I'll play it.
okay, okay, okay,
Only a
okay.
minute long. I might get
Alright.
30 seconds in there. All right, let's just throw a card out. Boom. All right, let's see here. Here we go. This is a celebration engagement card. My experience with disability is blank. My experience with disability is blank. You want to start?
No, I want you to do this one.
My experience with disability is that it's not covered technically under the Disabilities Act, but I have sleep apnea.
Mm,
And the reason I mention that as a disability because it has before I started having it treated, it had a really direct impact on my work life. I
mm,
was tired all the time. If you know anything about sleep apnea, it's basically you have a blockage in your somewhere in your airway where you basically can't breathe at night. And so you wear the CPAP, which I forget what it means, but it's basically blowing air down your nose or your mouth to keep your pathways open. Before that, I was sleeping all the time. When I got my assessment done, found out I had a really bad case of sleep apnea.
yeah.
And so the CPAP actually helped, but it messed with my ego because I'm thinking I'm big man. I'm big man. Nothing bothers me, but I'm also tired and I can't get things done.
But sleep apnea kills you slowly over time because your brain and body
Yes,
don't get enough air. What's that
yes.
got to do with being a big man? I wanna live. I
Nothing.
wanna
Okay.
breathe.
See, Dr. Helm, what I like about you is how you use logic and make sense of things, and your intelligence is
Like,
inspiring, but
what
it's
does
not
a
a logical
horse
thing. It's
breathe?
totally it's
Fair,
irrational. Totally
fair, 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 fair,
irrational.
fair.
Ego. It's all ego. But thankfully, I've been wearing it. I have too many adults in my life asking me, "You wear your CPAP?" Um, particularly my
It's
daughter. You wear
very
your CPAP?
common. A lot of people wear a CPAP. I can imagine it would be really difficult to adjust to, but,
It
you know.
is. I mean, yeah, I won't even go into some of that stuff, but yeah, that's my experience with disability. And then living with people who've lived in their own lives, it's a thing. But
Yeah,
the good thing is because disabilities, it feels like a special category of only a minority of folks are dealing with. But it's actually something that's pervasive that a
yeah.
lot of people are having to manage. It's definitely changed my attitude about it.
I will say, one, if we all are lucky enough to live a long life, you'll end up with a disability, right? My father, who was a lifelong diabetic, and he passed away quite a long time ago. But I remember, at one point he was on dialysis and he kind of blew up, size wise, and he couldn't walk down the driveway to bend down and pick up his paper at that time. And I thought to myself, I'm never going to complain again about my body because my body, for the most part, does what I want it to do when I ask it to do. And so I stopped taking a superficial view of bodies and health, like, oh, 5 pounds here, or I wish this. I got rid of all that because I realized like my father couldn't pick up his own paper and I'm complaining about X, Y, and Z, right? This was many years ago. So it really adjusted my perception, like be grateful for the fact that for the most part, when I ask my body to do something, when I get up in the morning, it's like, oh, right. But when I ask my body to do something, it typically responds. And so that is a blessing and I'm lucky. And so I think I, have viewed disability a little bit differently.
I'm just glad you're not making those sounds when you're having struggles like.
Well, I am. My kids make fun of me trying to, I was like, oh, my back, my back.
Lord, Lord, but yes, it is what it is. It is what it
Yeah.
is. Well, I
Having
appreciate
kids
that.
late in life destroyed that. Ooh wee. That they don't have any remorse whatsoever. No atonement,
You,
no remorse, don't
you
care.
go to your kids and say, "You're the one that broke my back. You broke my back." Don't say nothing. Well, hey, we I was thinking about switching up the side eye to the white boys need boys, but I feel like we can leave that for next time because we just have so much
Oh,
fun and
are you
talking.
sure? Because we keep kicking it down the road. We can do
Okay. Let's do it as part of
that. Okay.
our side eye
Okay.
because I think there's some side eye to be had here. So let me. Okay, you know me and technology. Here we go.
You
Let
gonna
me
play the
find
clip?
it.
Okay.
1 second. I'll find it here. There we go.
Okay.
Ready? Here you go.
Yes.
About like pulling back on spending because we're doing something. She immediately thinks we're broke. I'm like, the hell is, but she does because she gets stressed out. So I have to articulate things with her differently. I can come here and tell you guys that and you won't even interpret it that way. You're just upset. Oh yeah, we gotta save some money. That's what you've been doing. Like, she's like, are we broke? We don't have any more money? I'm like, baby, I'm just asking us not to spend $50 at Starbucks every single morning. Can we do that like twice a week, dude? Like I'm not, but all of a sudden we're poor. So what I'm saying is when you got man stuff to deal with, you got to go to men. And if you start treating your wife like your sounding board, one, it's going to stress her out. It's going to make her highly uncomfortable and put her in a place out of her element. Or two, it's going to start putting her in a motherly role. And she's going to start acting like your mom. She's going to start trying to solve your problems. And then you're going to start coming to her with more problems. And pretty soon you have this really weird dynamic, this Freudian dynamic, where you've replaced one mother in your life with another mother in your life. And you have this really strange relationship. I think you have to have your tribe around. And I think to Stone's point, you've got to make time to be with your friends. And sometimes it's inconvenient. There's a
I was trying to get past his hat.
Well, I've been wanting you to see this video because for the
Yeah, this is
folks
my
who
first viewing of the video.
you got the side eye. You got the side eye. But he's basically saying when he goes to his wife, she catastrophizes things, and she plays the role of mother, and she like she's falling apart, right? And so the reason why he needs men in his life is so he can have those real conversations, and you know, I'm just sitting there. I watched the video several times, and I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Well, okay. So this is my first viewing of the video, and I had to try to get past the hat. But okay, one, I do think men need other men, right?
Oh
And a lot
yes,
of times, straight men and straight relationships often develop a more limited social circle.
yep,
And I think that it is important for men to be supportive of other men,
no
right?
doubt, no doubt.
So I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. Or close friendships. Um, I was trying to figure out, well, where are you going with this? Right? Like, is this don't worry your pretty little head about this? Because that's like, yeah. So, uh,
I thought it was a misuse of the idea of men leaning on other men for conversation because what it did, at least his version of it, it basically put this kind of stereotype of what the kinds of conversation men should be having, right? And if you go to your partner who happens to be a woman, that the conversation is going to look a certain way, and somehow she's unable to handle it in the way that you need, or
yeah,
she falls into these trope kind of positions that may have nothing to do with reality, or maybe it's just a reflection of the relationship that he has. And so maybe
right.
he's expressing his own frustration because of whatever. But I'm like, maybe the nature of your conversation needs to change. Maybe you need to say, you know what? Every time we have this kind of conversation, I feel like I can't lean on you because
Mhm,
you catastrophize things, or I feel like I can't get the support I need to have these tough conversations with you. But he's
mhm.
not saying that. He's saying ignore her and go to your bros.
Yeah, it was hard so I don't disagree with everything that he said, right? I guess I'd have to hear more about what he means by that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'll
I
say.
love how open minded you are, Dr. Hill.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to figure out, like, are you patronizing or are you actually sort of um, consider the fact that you don't want to be mothered by her? Because most wives do not want to mother their husband. That's a consideration.
Exactly.
So I would have to hear I would have to hear more.
I mean, I think the fair thing to do is to hear her perspective on this. But what I was hearing from him is that she does play a motherly role that's uncomfortable for him. But
Mhm.
again, I don't know if solution is going to be just talking to your friends about it. I think it's a
Yeah.
real conversation because I've been in that position. My ex, I know she loved me to death. I loved her, but there was moments I felt that she was kind of mothering,
Yeah.
but I had the
Well, and
conversation
I
with
think
her.
sometimes men pull for that too,
Yes.
right? With
Yes.
the sort of what is that weaponized incompetence, like you do it better than me, right? You know, and so that's a whole other show where we get
Yes.
into sort of gender dynamics. So yeah, I'm going to just keep repeating. I think I would need to hear more, right? But I
Right.
do
Right.
think men often, you know, at least in straight relationships, look to women to be nurtured and
Hmm.
then want to be like, well, you're not my mom, right? You know, and so I think that
Right.
it can be confusing. Um, so yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when it begs the question of when is it nurturing, when is it mothering, right?
It depends on the
Uh,
person.
right. And is it okay in this situation when we're cuddling on the couch, or
Right.
is it when we talk about finances and the car, it's not. Uh,
Well, or when he's sick, right? When he's sick, right? You know, with
why
a
you gotta bring
cold.
up that? Why you gotta bring
Because
that
you
up?
get
Huh?
sick with a cold and you're like,
No,
I'm
no, no,
dying,
no.
right?
That's not
And she
fair.
breaks her foot and it's like, let me just go run to the store right quick, you know.
I'm
So
protesting. Why you gotta bring that up?
because you know how sometimes y'all are when you get sick.
Yeah, I do.
And you want mothering then. So, you know, again, as a couples counselor, these are clarifying what you need and what you want in your relationship with your significant other um, becomes important, right?
And so this is a partial side eye, not total.
It's partial. It's like one eye. It's one eye. It's not both eyes. It's a partial side eye. Yes.
Well, I think that we're allowed to have partial side
Yes.
eyes here on
Yes.
Riffing While Black.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad we finally watched it. I was gonna delay it, but to me it was so good. I'm glad we took the time to talk about it because it's real. It's real stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well, hey, we got one more card to do, and then we'll wrap things up.
Okay.
Let's do this one. I'm leaving here today with blank. I'm leaving here today with blank. What
A
are you leaving here
smile.
today?
A smile. Some of the things today crack me up. So,
You know what? I'm gonna just go
especially when
along.
you say kindness. What the hell?
Let's talk about the Raiders.
The kindness.
You know I'm from Houston, girl. Come on now. Houston. Houston. But I'm with you as well. It's especially today and days that we've been going through for not just any day, but particularly now. Having a good smile is important, even though it may not change all the circumstances, but it helps in the moment sometimes. So, yeah. Well, hey, Dr. Helm, it's always good
All
to see you.
right,
Riffing While
KC.
Black, and
All
I
right.
will see you next time. All right.
All right. Bye, Dr. Prince.
Yeah. Take care.